Thank you, Representative Pitts, for joining me today to do an interview about House Bill 3509. And my first question for you would be, could you please explain what House Bill 3509 declares?
It simply declares that we as a sovereign state are asking the federal government to recognize that sovereignty as established by the Constitution of the United States, most particularly in the Ninth and Tenth Amendments, and respect that sovereignty within what those two articles declare.
Okay. And what prompted you to create this resolution?
The constant eroding of states' rights by the federal government and the constant encroaching into our ability as a state to govern ourselves when we are a sovereign state of a united group.
Okay.
One of the problems that I have with the whole scenario is it's a simple difference of terms. We are the United States, or is the United States. The difference is, "are" means we are a collective of sovereign states. "Is" indicates the United States is one. Both could be right. The problem is, when they use "is" on the federal level, they disregard the "are."
Okay. And do you see the federal government infringing on states' rights? And if so, could you give us some examples?
Yes, I do. They're constantly infringing on states' rights, whether it's through the education system. Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is probably the foremost on the front lines, in my opinion. Immigration is another one. Just a host of things. Health care, dictating to the states things that we have to do as a state without funding or without even taking a look at the repercussions of how it affects the states.
All right. And this bill is basically a declaration that doesn't prompt any changes in the law. Therefore, are you or any other members of the General Assembly going to propose any laws in the same spirit of this resolution?
Well, I can't speak for other members of the General Assembly, only through conversation, but I know there are other members considering bills at this time. One is considering a bill copying one that was just filed in New Hampshire this week, or this past week, that is, it walks right up to the door of secession without knocking on it. It's a very in-depth bill, and we have one legislator that I know is considering that bill. I have filed bills in the past addressing this issue because it's not something that just came about this year or in the last few months. It's been a constant erosion of states' rights from Roosevelt to today, and I'm not talking about Teddy Roosevelt. I'm talking about our World War II president. And the only break in that erosion has been the great Ronald Reagan, who really did believe in states' rights and less government on the federal level. And last year, I filed a bill on immigration. Actually, 2 years ago now, I filed a bill on immigration. And two of the articles in that bill challenged the federal government on states' rights, one in the arena of health care, one in the arena of education. Unfortunately, we couldn't get groundswell to move that bill forward. I firmly believe that we have two options to deal with the issue of Jeffersonian principle versus Adams, states' rights versus federalism. And that is to go through our federal court system and challenge the encroachment based on the strict interpretation of the Constitution. And we could do that through those challenges I just named. For instance, in the healthcare arena or education arena, we contest what we have a right to do as a state. When the feds say we can't do that, then Henry McMaster gets to argue for the state of South Carolina before the U.S. Supreme Court as to who's right on constitutionality. and the other was tried in 1861 and didn't work. So I would prefer to go the first route.
Okay. And are there any concluding remarks you'd like to make?
Yes, I think if the trend toward federalism continues, it's going to lead us in a trend toward socialism and maybe even into communism. I don't think it's a leading into a trend. I think it's headed headlong into that. Good men and women shed blood for this country, for the freedoms, the liberties, individual and collective, that we all enjoy. And the more encroachment and erosion of states' rights that occur, the more encroachment and erosion into individual rights, freedoms, and liberties occur. And I think that we need to stem the tide before we become a country contrasting what all those good men and women bled and many died for. I was on the phone yesterday with two old World War II vets from the 101st Airborne, made very popular in Band of Brothers, Babe Heffron and Wild Bill Garnier. And those two guys fought, bled, and saw friends die for freedom. And those freedoms are being taken away through a move toward federalist government.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing what happens to this bill.
I appreciate it.